Let's get to the news.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North and South America, and all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
Game news.
First up in game news, something that Ben turned me on to make sure that I knew about. There's a game called Luzon Rails, which is coming out. This is about rail building in the Philippines. We just talked about how much I love a good rail game. Well, this one looks kind of interesting. It's 3 to 5 players, plays in 45 to 90 minutes, so this is more of that shorter cube rail game type lengths. So Chicago Express, all of that sort of stuff.
Irish Gauge,
exactly right. Which it doesn't tend to be a sweet spot for me personally, but I'm always on the lookout for one. A game that plays in about an hour and a half, that is a train game that feels deep and meaningful. I thought Chicago Express really nailed that.
Yep.
Amazing. So I'm always on the lookout for one. Ben, what do you think about this? You're the one who turned me on to this.
I love to do a yes and, but I think that there was maybe, I don't know what happened here. I have never heard of this game before. So I don't know. I sent you.
Did you not? Was it not?
I want to say I'm so excited. I'm so glad I sent you that link, but I'm afraid I'm not the one that sent you that link. Or if I did, I don't even know. I'm like there's a mystery going on.
All right.
I definitely sent you a link to something else, and I wonder if it was one of those things where you think your clipboard has copied the right thing, and then it hasn't, and then I just sent it along without double checking, and then somehow I sent you a link to something called Luzon Rails, which, by the way, I'm already very interested in, but I wonder if that's what happened.
Well, I guess it's a mystery here. It says that the designer, Robin David, is from Kildare, Ireland, so you're gonna get my money. Definitely. It currently has about 10 days left to go on Kickstarter. I mean, it looks elegant.
It looks great.
It looks simple. It looks very well designed. I think that we should give it a try.
Oh, totally. I mean, I'm looking at the Kickstarter right now, and it looks really cool. I love this map, and I'm a total convert to rail games anyway. So what can I say? I'm into it.
Tom, do you have an invisible Irish friend named Ben that you want to tell us about?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I have somebody named Ben that's turning me on to all the Irish games.
It's a great marketing strategy. Just message Tom pretending to be another co-host, and we'll promote your Kickstarter.
I know. I mean, I think that I really do wonder if what I had copied and sent you was it's somehow the clipboard somehow picked up this other link, because what I had sent you was about a game called Inequalityopoly. Did you see that link? Did you hear about that?
Oh, I'm familiar with it. Yeah. Matter of fact, let's just talk about Inequalityopoly right now. It is basically a Monopoly game in which, much like in real life, not everybody starts off equally. Right? People start off with different resources to begin the game, and as such, it's not going to be a very good game or a fun game for some, but it is going to teach a lesson, right?
Yeah. Which I think is interesting. I mean, it's on Indiegogo right now. I think that realistically, if you look at this project, it's probably not going to be a game that you're going to be like, oh, I want to buy this game. This looks like it's going to be a great game for my designer board game collection. But maybe as a teaching tool, or just something that's interesting. Or you mentioned a few episodes ago about, what was that game? Was it called Train that you talked about?
Yes, Train. Yes.
Yeah. So it looks like this sort of falls into that category. But I also kind of love the idea of it. I love the idea that people do not start with equal privilege, and how that impacts a game. Because I think that one thing is that with a lot of board games, we're always very, very concerned about balance, right? There's always a lot of discussion. Was this balanced? Is that player power balanced? Is this balanced? Is that balanced? And the truth is that in life, there are huge amounts of imbalances for lots of different people. You were born into imbalance, unfortunately, for many, many people. And I wonder, are board games a way for us to sort of find balance in an imbalanced world? And maybe there is a lot of value in a game that is just blatantly imbalanced. And there's another game that has been in development for about 2 years called Quantify that also plays with those themes of that not everyone has the same privileges at the game table. So I think it's a really interesting project in terms of both as a teaching tool, but also in terms of making you think about some of the core concepts of board gaming.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know that in the role-playing game and the LARP space, this has been explored, and it might be that this is something that more fits in with that realm than board games, where balance is a really important factor. Whereas in LARPs, you can have a little more free flow with that. You can do more things with it. Trey, when you first went to Vassar, did you experience Bafa?
I did not, because I came in as a sophomore, but I do know what that is.
Gotcha. So there are two LARPs that are educational experiences, I should say, that deal with this a lot. One is a game called Bafa, which is a fascinating cultural simulation. The group of people, 30, 50, 100, whatever, are split into two factions and put in two different rooms, right? And they form a society, and the society has rules, right? One society is very much the capitalist society, and they basically they talk in English, and their main concern is collecting sets of cards, and they have these cards that have different values and different symbols on them, and all sorts of stuff, and they're looking for. They're looking to trade complete sets, and that's how they get ahead in their society, right? So they start trading amongst themselves, and it quickly becomes apparent that together they only have so many things, right? Like to make a real complete set, there's maybe one or two people in the entire society that can form a complete set because they're missing the 9 cards or the 8 cards or the 7 cards, and so on and so forth. Then the other side is the Bafa people, and they have a very what would you call it?
Well, there's two cultures that essentially speak two different languages and have different customs.
The second culture,
and the interactions between these groups are very difficult, but they have to learn to understand each other in order to kind of like make any progress in the game.
Precisely right.
Oh, interesting.
The Bafa people speak a language that is
and we almost can't describe how they talk because that breaks the game.
We won't. Yeah, I won't get into that. What I will say is that they definitely have societal rules that they cannot directly communicate to you. So some of the things that the people from the capitalist society come in looking to do are offensive to them, and how do you deal with that, right? Or it's the things that you shouldn't do. And then what happens when they discover that these natives have a lot of those 7s, 8s, and 9s that they need very much, and the natives, the people in the Bafa side, don't seem to understand that these have any value whatsoever. And how do you deal with that? How do you negotiate all of this sort of stuff? Fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
The other one is something called SimSoc, which stands for Simulated Society. And this is a much larger. I own this, and this is a much larger simulation, cultural simulation, where there are several different groups that are put into several different rooms, and it is very much what the game you just mentioned, Ben, is about, which is that they do not start with equal resources at all. And what do you do? And the emergent gameplay for both of these games that I'm mentioning, the emergent gameplay is the fascinating thing, because something happens when you are simulating a situation, right? When you're told, okay, the goal of your society is to do well. To do well is to collect complete sets. You put on this persona. You could play the game a million different ways, but people tend to put on that persona of that, that greedy win at all costs capitalist, right? And it does interesting things to a person that is standing outside and has been given a different role to play with a different rule system. Well, the society in SimSoc that has the least resources, right? That is really, really, frankly, is in trouble, is in crisis to some degree. The way that they interact with the other societies, the way the other societies interact with them, is fascinating. That it's never the same, but it almost always has all these interesting cultural mirrors to imperialism and colonialism, and it's just fascinating. So just to add to the discussion and say that there are a lot of interesting things in the LARP, more in the educational space, really, than the LARP space.
And this game, by the way, I believe Indiopoly was designed by a former teacher.
Equalityopoly, right?
Yeah, Yeah. So did I say Indiopoly? No, Inequalityopoly. Inequalityopoly, I believe, is designed by a former teacher. So this is a teacher who comes. The designer is someone who comes from a background of education. So fascinating. I love what you just described with both of those games. I love that. I love when games can actually create a learning experience, and one thing that we've seen over the past few months a lot is it's a video that seems to come up a lot whenever we have like a big flare up with racial tensions. I forget her name, but she's an educator. She's an older lady, and she has all these great videos where she basically goes into classrooms and teaches kids about racism. And if you think about it, there's sort of like a game element of it where she says, if you have blue eyes, if you have brown eyes, you are not going to get certain privileges in this classroom. And over the course of that class, by the end, the kids with brown eyes are crying and this isn't fair, or this isn't fair. You're so mean to me. It's well, guess what? That's racism. But if you think about it, there's sort of like a game element to that, and it can be it's such a powerful tool. And so it's really cool to see when someone decides to use gaming to teach to make greater points.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and back to your original point, though, it is a point that, when we play board games, do we take it for granted that the point of playing board games is to have fun? Yeah. That's not necessarily a given. I mean, the as an art form or as a medium, it can be much broader than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, anyone that's played a board game with Dimitri knows that the goal is
it's not about
it
fun.
Can't always be about fun.
Anyone who's played Rising Sun knows that sometimes fun doesn't have to come into the equation.
Wow.
Opinionated gamer.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Let's move on. Dinosaur World, which is a loose sequel to Dinosaur Island. I'm telling you, Pandasaurus Games, they have a style. They have an idea of what they're doing. Trey, did you ever play Dinosaur Island? I demoed it at Essen the year we went there. Did you ever get a chance to play it?
I did not. It was too painful to me because one of my many uncompleted prototype games was in fact called Dinosaur Island, springing out of a design exercise I had done with Seth Jaffe in Arizona and a number of other designers years ago. But Dinosaur Island was a good topic for, hey, we're all going to design a board game. Dinosaur Island, go! That was a great starting point. So I've never played it.
It's a good game, solid.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a solid game. God, there's some X factor that's missing. I have the the deluxe thing. It weighs about 45 pounds. Every coin is basically like a kettlebell, and Are there
minis? Are there dinosaur minis?
In the deluxe version, there are these little fun little plastic dinosaurs. It is a fun game. There are some things about it that I wish were fixed. I'm not going to go into a whole big deep dive about it, but there's certain things where I feel like there's a lot of big choices in uninteresting areas, how am I going to allot my DNA, and not very big choices in the areas that should be where there should be, how am I going to lay out my park, etc. And I know there's an expansion that fixed that, but
Well, Dinosaur World is not an expansion. We should say that it is a standalone game that takes place in the Dinosaur Island universe, Jurassic Park universe. Come on, let's be clear. And who knows? They took a second bite of the apple. Maybe they struck gold here because the first one was pretty good to begin with. It wasn't.
It was.
I agree with you, Ben, that it was not. It wasn't everything I wanted. I didn't buy it at Essen. Of course, that was. I think I played it on the next to last day when I already had more games that could. We would have crashed a plane if I bought one more game. But
especially with that one, that's a heavy one.
Exactly. But Dinosaur World is going to be out in 2021, coming soon. Take a look at it. Next,
do we know? By the way, do we know what it's going to offer beyond what Dinosaur Island offers?
The description so far, I don't remember quite enough about the game to be able to lay out that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're still building a park. You're acquiring DNA. You're spending workers for private actions. You're driving your Jeep around and so on and so forth. So it's
a more refined vision.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see.
Nice. Yeah,
we'll see. Like I said with Arkwright, for me it was a near miss, and I think Dinosaur Island was maybe a little bit more of a miss than a near miss, but I thought the bones of it were pretty interesting, and I think with a little refinement, it could be a really great game, and so maybe Dinosaur World will be that.
It had good bones.
Good
dinosaur bones.
I said that
Big
twice.
Dinosaur bones.
Yeah. Capstone Games are, I think we can safely say, is probably our favorite publisher at the moment. They are just crushing it. They have a new game called Cloud Age coming out from Alexander Pfister, the designer of the #1 ranked Game Brain board game, Great Western Trail. Cloud Age, strategy game, 1 to 4 players, a dystopian world in which a secret society called Cloud sabotaged oil production sites to destabilize the world, and the resulting environmental catastrophe has had disastrous effects. Now we're flying around in airships searching for a better life. How fitting this description for our game today, isn't it?
Perfect.
Are they building a cloud city?
You are building a cloud city. You are battling with cloud militia. You are doing all of the effect. You're looking for a better life. I don't think it's building a cloud city per se, but you're definitely flitting about and having wars in the air. And it sounds like he's got an innovative card sleeving system, which sounds a little bit like the Mystic Vale-esque situation going on, which
maybe. I think the So Very Wrong About Games pointed out this isn't actually the same as Mystic Vale, so I don't know what that means. But if it's Pfister, we're gonna try it.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. We're absolutely going to try it. So,
And I'm go ahead. I was going to say, I'm so glad it's taking place in a fantasy setting for once, because he's really gotten in trouble. Like, he has really stepped in it with, like, some great designs. And I'm just glad that I think he has listened to what people have said. It's like, guess what? This one not taking place in the real world at any time where there were issues. Okay, we're just going to go into some faraway place.
Well, Matt and Jennifer and I recently had a conversation with Alexander Pfister online about something that may be related to that. I don't think we're at liberty to talk about it, but he asked for our opinion on something game design related, and it was an honor to be able to speak to him really briefly.
That's great.
Yeah,
love that.
No, it was really cool. It was really cool.
I'm glad that he reached out to you guys.
Yeah, well, he reached out. Of course, he reached out to Jennifer. Of course. And so everything came through that. But it was great. He was very.
You were present.
I was there.
The room where it happened.
I was in the room where it happened. The room where it happened. Next up, Rolling Stock Stars. Okay, there's a guy named Bjorn Rabenstein who designed a game called Rolling Stock, and I think the theme for this version of the news is near misses, because Rolling Stock was a really, really interesting game that didn't quite work. It was kind of trying to be a mapless 18xx game, a really, really rough and tumble liquidity battle stock investment train game that was almost like playing a spreadsheet, but really, really interesting design that didn't quite work. I only did a demo of it once, but a lot of people that I respect and that I know, the Eric Broges of the world who really know what they're talking about in this realm, were like, it's so close to working, but it doesn't quite get there. Well, there's a new version called Rolling Stock Stars that's going to be coming out, and I'm just going to keep my eye on it, and I just want to let you guys know that this is one of the more interesting designs to come down the pike in several years. If you could do 18xx and yet make it feel different, and yet still have that bite and that intensity of it, and play in and with a smaller group, like 3 or 4 people, possibly play in 2 to 3 hours, wouldn't that be something that you'd be interested in?
Yeah, of course. I actually, our friend Candace wrote about this on Board Game Geek, and so I went and clicked through, and I was like, "This seems interesting." And then I clicked on the rules, and I was like, it felt like it was like 25 pages of single line text. I was like, "Oh my god, this is a lot for a card game." But I'm undeterred. I was just like a little It was like between that and Arkwright the card game, I was reeling a little bit, but I'm really excited to try this one out.
Listen, I'm not. I can't vouch for it because my whole comment is that it is the sequel to, or it comes from the line of a game that didn't quite work but was fascinating. Was one of those games that, gosh, I wish this was just a little bit fixed. Which we said about a lot of things, but it is being put out by All Aboard Games, which, as we know, are becoming the go-to spot for your indie train games. They're doing all the amazing 18xx releases and so on and so forth. So, if you like the 18xx world, Rolling Stock Stars is something we should all keep an eye on and just see if he's made a better mousetrap. Because if he has, I'm in. Totally.
I'm subscribed.
There you go. Next up, we talked about the Stefan Feld collection and how his older games were going to be re-released. Well, we have details because it's on Kickstarter now. 17 days to go as of today's date. Hamburg and Amsterdam are being offered. It has definitely kicked. It had a goal of $50,000. Really? Did it really have a goal of $50,000?
Really?
Come on. It's at $733,000, so it has kicked. But the question that a lot of people are asking, both on BGG and on our board and on our Game Brain forums, is the juice worth the squeeze? This is a pretty pricey squeeze. The buy-in for the game is $65 plus shipping. It's going to be $80-$90 per game. That is a lot of money to pay for a game that the original version of it cost $40, $30, somewhere in there, right? So people are having some qualms about that, and I haven't weighed in on it, but personally, Hamburg, it used to be Bruges. I think it's a great game. I really enjoyed it. Amsterdam is Macau. I think I played it once. I thought it was a good game. I don't see either of those being an $80 game. I can't wrap my head around that.
It's a $65 pledge for the classic game, and they're showing a $99 pledge for the deluxe.
Yes,
that's the pricing.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a hard time accepting the fact that Hamburg is $65 plus another $15 for shipping. I mean, did I pay for it? Yes, I did. I didn't like it, but I couldn't help myself because do I have Bruges? Yes, I do. But I watched Rado's playthrough of Hamburg, and I was kind of sold. I was like, I'm really enjoying this. I know I've got Bruges, but this does look like it's fixed some things for Bruges that I mean, I didn't even think that Bruges was even that broken, but it just looked better, and I'm probably being foolish, and I probably should just waited, and it'll probably come down to like $45 or $50. But when you press like that little Apple Pay button and it vibrates under your finger, and you just feel like sun has like shone down on you, and there's bluebirds like flying around, I just feel like I needed that at that moment.
Well, here's the great thing. The great thing is that in our Game Brain posse now, we got about 11 people all total, and 6 of us buy games, right? It's me and Maddie and Trey and Elder and Jennifer and you. So between 6 of us, if I don't want to buy something, I cannot buy something, and somebody's going to have it, right? And we can always just, once we're gaming in person again, you always bring your little your bag of goodies with you when you come in.
My little bag of goodies. I got my little tote bag. I just come around like the creepy neighborhood person. I got my tote bag of games, guys. I'm actually just waiting to see a playthrough of Amsterdam, because right now I've only backed Hamburg. I've never played Macau, but it looks. I watched a playthrough of Macau yesterday because I'm now fascinated, but I really want to see if I'm going to just like throw more money at this thing, which I shouldn't. I don't have the space for another game, but I have a problem, and I'm okay with that. I'm honest about my problem.
YOLO.
Thank you.
That's
yes,
it.
YOLO.
I mean, I've only played Macau once, I think. I played Bruges several times. I thought Bruges was significantly better to me. So, but like I said, one play of Macau, I don't really know. So, can't really say.
My friend Lana, I think actually, Trey, we were both friends with Lana, right?
Yes.
And she says, I believe she says that Macau is her number 2 Feld.
Really? And Lana Berman? Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I don't want to misquote her.
That's reason enough to try it again. That's for sure.
She's got good taste.
You know what, Ben? Yeah. You should buy that game. You really should.
God!
You should.
It sounds like this game was
my hands are tied behind
appropriately
my back
priced for Ben.
Yeah, I do. I think it's the Ben's sweet spot in terms of pricing. You should really get that, Ben.
Heard a little bit,
right?
But
here's the thing. Since I've already pledged for Hamburg, I think I have my foot in the door. I am now in the room where it happens for this Kickstarter. So I think I can later on.
Yes, they will take your money later to buy more products. They will.
There you go.
Yes.
Evidently, it says right here that Hamburg fits well inside a little tote bag. So that's a good thing. Just,
in a bag of goodies, it actually says.
That's what it says. It's amazing. Crazy.
Bag of goodies.
Next up on my news is Maglev Metro, but hey, we already discussed that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, Bezier Games. It's available for $70 basically, and you can. I think they have a 10% off going on right now. It is available for pre-order as we speak, and it can be played on Tabletopia. Is that right?
Yeah, and let me also just clarify some things for people who have actually no idea what it really is.
Please.
Is that basically you are building subways in the future? I think the idea is that you're converting subways in either New York or Berlin, depending on which map you play. You're converting subways into maglevs, which are magnetically levitating trains, and it's sort of like a train game the way you would think like an Age of Steam is or Railways of the World. But actually, it's a subway building game, and the difference there is that the tiles are actually in real life. The tiles are like clear plastic, but they have like a stripe on them of your color. And what that means is that we can all put our tiles on the same hex, and it's designed in a way that we can all see our lines. And so if you think of like any subway map or like the London Tube or whatever, like you know when like there's like 3 lines that have converged, you see like 3 colors right next to each other flush.
Yep.
That's what this game does, and it's so cool because you look like you're actually building a subway map. And the game is really all about like you move your train back and forth. It takes an action to actually turn it around mid-track. Otherwise, you have to go all the way into the line and then you have to go all the way back like a real subway. And it's all about like picking up passengers, taking them to destinations, dropping them off. And as you drop certain passengers off at the right colored places, you sort of like boost your subway car's capacity so it can travel farther, or you can build more track more efficiently, or you can pick up more people at once or have a greater capacity. And you're trying to like make all these adjustments. And all the while your little subway car is going like back and forth. So it really feels like a subway. And it was really fun. It's really, really fun. At the very least, people should check it out on Tabletopia.
Sounds great. I mean, there is something about a good... Go ahead, Trey.
No, it's my own bias. When you said I was playing Maglev Metro, I assumed this was a Jordan Draper game.
Right?
Yeah.
I was just about to say, Trey, there is something about a good subway map that just warms your soul. And Tokyo Metro, when you lay out that cloth map of the subway system, I'm just like, oh, I love it. I'm transported instantly. I just love it.
You know what, by the way, I forgot to mention this on game night because you said cloth mat. I forgot to mention this, and I want to mention it because I said I was going to do it the last episode. I played Mandala last night with my boyfriend.
Oh, well, how did it go?
It was super fun. Super, super fun. We only played one game. He liked it. Really, I could not believe how interesting the choices were so quickly. It felt like every single choice in that game mattered. Great. Really, really fun. Looking forward to more plays of it.
Great. Oh, that's awesome. And let's do one last bit of news, which is online news, which is that there are 2 new games that are available. One is available in the Apple App Store, and that is Cartographers, is available for iPhone and iPad. It is basically a roll and write that is very well regarded. And I haven't played it myself, but a lot of people say that it's one of the best of that genre. So if you are into that kind of thing, guess what? iPhone, iPad, $4, and it is yours. And then secondly, Steam has just released Root. So Root is now available on Steam. Stampede on over there because that's a big game to have a full release. It's going to be $15, but it is available as an early access game right now, and it looks gorgeous. You look at the game out there, and it looks really beautiful.
It's a quality app. I know Jennifer and Matt were trying it out yesterday. I'm still kind of a Root skeptic. But beautiful art, and like just firing up this game from Steam because I bought it. It's got a great tutorial system, and it has an amazing soundtrack. Like there's a jug band of forest animals playing music that I found like I just left it on a loop in the background while I was doing other things. It's very like Emmett Otter, but like I'm ready to buy the Root soundtrack album. Kickstart that tomorrow. I'm in for that,
dude. It's awesome. It reminds me of Myst or the sequel to Myst. I mean,
this is a little more rockin'. Like this is more like puts a little hop in your step with the kind of Root jug band music.
Awesome. Okay, that's it for the news.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.